Kristen.
And I'm Madison.
And you're listening to Pitch Kill Repeat, the podcast where the event industry goes under the knife.
For event industry insiders, this is going to be free therapy. But for everyone else, this is your backstage pass into the chaos and clout of the world of experiential marketing.
Right. So whether you dream in mood boards or you're just here for the vibes, we're peeling back the curtain on the world of events.
We're going to show you how the sausage gets made.
And who may have cried making it.
This season, we're covering marketing, branding, strategy.
And, major flops, questionable trends, and the bizarre world of brand experiences that are still somehow getting funded.
Join us every Thursday for Pitch Kill Repeat. Hi, Oscar. I'm so glad you're here.
Hello. Hi, guys.
Okay, so before we get into it, this episode today, we will explore how people may think they want brand side jobs until they're drowning in procurement emails. Or maybe they want the fast-paced agency life until it's 1 a.m. and they're ordering gaff tape from a parking lot, So we're going to cut through the glossy perceptions of brand versus agency life because, as you know, Oscar, the grass looks greener, but it's probably just better lit. Yeah. So we're going to talk about the envy, the misconceptions, and what it really takes to thrive on either side. And we'll also expose the truth about the challenges, the burnout, and the unexpected wins with Oscar Osei.
Love it.
Speaking of, Oscar is a Clio Award winner, an experiential marketing expert. He has worked on experiential activations with brands from Airbnb to Refinery 29's 29 Rooms, Netflix, BEIS, HBO, 818 Tequila, like you name it. Like
Anything
he's worked
cool,
with them.
he's done.
Basically anything awesome. And then, of course, he spends his free time traveling around the globe and experiencing different cultures.
Yay!
Like you're always on the go, and I love it. I just live vicariously through you all the time. I'm like, where's Oscar today?
Oscar, we usually start our guests with one recurring question. So I'm going to ask this to you because this is Pitch, Kill, Repeat. We want to know, what is on repeat for you right now?
What's on repeat for me? I was just telling you guys previously, I was working on a Korean project for the first half of this year, basically living on 2 time zones. And I've always been a fan of K-pop and K-dramas. Being in the country, basically 3 months out of the year, I was really steeped into the culture. So right now I'm watching a lot of Korean dramas.
Which one? Yeah. Which one are you watching? Because this chick was watching one last night.
Hey, I was watching it. Everybody's watching it right now.
Oh, I don't know.
It's like the Demon Hunter one, the K-pop Demon Hunter one.
I'm watching one called Reborn Rich, which I love it. It's about a revenge. I love a revenge, soap opera drama thing where, it's like rich people backstabbing each other for stocks.
Oh my God,
and
text
stuff.
me
It's
that
really
one.
I will send it to you. Yeah.
I love it.
Well then, okay, so you dropped a little bit about the project that you were there for 3 months out of the year. Can you talk a little bit more about your career in your own words?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. My career, funnily enough, this is coming at a very interesting time. I'm one of woo-woo spiritual girlies where it's I believe in spirituality and things happening. Yeah, I started working in Experiential in 2015 in August. So this year is kind of a 10-year anniversary for me where I've been doing this for 10 years.
Wait, this month is 10 years.
Yeah, it's 10 years. So it's been so, doing this, I'm oh my God, this is really interesting and weird to get to talk about it. But I started this in 2015 in New York City. I used to work in fashion. So, I started a small agency, kind of similar to the topic of this conversation, went from agency to brand to agency to brand to agency and then brand. And then I'm back at an agency. So I've kind of toggled back and forth based on where I thought the grass was greener at that time because it kind of funnels back and forth. And currently I'm at an agency and, coming from a tech brand, I wanted to just go back to the basics of starting from the ground up.
I think if you're in experiential events, it would make sense that you toggle back and forth because it's also experience on your own.
Yeah, it's the need for control. It's really interesting. I mean, I like this. I lean in at work and then I lean out in my personal life. It's always an interesting balance for me where I don't want to make all the decisions in my personal life. So it makes it kind of tricky, kind of juggling that because going from brand Brands are really interesting because when you're in a brand, there's a lot of like red tape and getting around people's egos and decisions and having to like fight for what you were hired to do. And then when you go on the agency side, you get all of that autonomy, but then it becomes too much. So like it's like finding, in my opinion, at least in my experience, it's like finding that balance of like switching back and forth. Because at one point I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to like work 24/7, now have a personal life, have my Slack going up at all hours of the night. I'm going to go to brand because I feel like it's going to be singularly focused. And then you're like, oh, no.
Totally. Well, and Kate, so you just talked about your experience both with brand and agency and that there are friction points there. Can you give an example of what those challenges would be?
In my experience, kind of going from agency to brand, I was trained at an agent, like a very small agency in Experiential, where there were like three people, and I got to do everything. We get to do this at agencies as a producer. You wear different hats from like writing the pitch deck to doing the budget and presenting to the client and client management and executing and finding. So you do a lot of things. That's how I was trained in Experiential. So moving to brand, I'm still able to do everything. It took me a while to, get to the point where I was like, I can't work in this vacuum where I can't shoulder all of that. So going to the brand side, I wanted to kind of singularly focus on like, oh, I'm an experiential marketing manager. I don't have to produce the project. I just have to produce the agency and try to get that forward. So it took a lot of that pressure off to like do everything. Working on the brand side, you produce the people internally. That's what you do. You're like producing the team and the ego and the trying to fight for an idea of like, this is what you hired me to do, and if you want this product launch to do this, let's go with that, and like fighting for budget and trying to get things aligned so that the agency on the other side can also execute. So you're like managing the agency, and then you're managing internally as well.
They're both tricky.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we drill into that, right? Because I feel like the biggest conception is that like the brand side is the cushier side, and so many people on the agency side, like the goal is to get to the brand side, right? That's like the thing. Oh, our clients have it so easy, like they are not doing all the work, they just have to like give us the stuff and make the decision.
And that's
so I
not the case.
I know,
it's
but
not the case.
No, not at all. And I want to start on that side because I feel like, especially on the events or an experiential team, as much like that we have to do for a brand and like how important like what we're doing is in terms of going back into the brand and like success and ROI and all that, we're always like the last to know is what I've found. Like the events team holds so much, but also is usually the last to know about the latest marketing shift, like a product roadmap shift. So I think, let's like drill into some of those challenges that we see on the brand side and maybe like some like hacks or ways to kind of like manage that, right? Like
in my brain, I put it in like, when you're on the brand side, it's like you're like the bastards in the family, and then when you're like on the agency side, you're like the help. There's like, that's literally
basically
that's it.
But internally, you're like the internal agency, you're like the internal hired help for the brand.
It's a weird vibe shift for either one. But let's talk about, the question that you asked about the challenges with being on brand side, and then we can go into challenges with agency side, and also maybe just for you specifically, Oscar, like where things have landed for you to where you feel good where you currently are.
There is a lot of challenges on the agency side as well. Like I previously mentioned, like I come with a different experience because I was trained so intensely. And it's in New York where like I came from fashion, and it's almost like I can do everything. And that was me. So even at my current agency, I can do everything where it took me like losing my job in COVID to realize I don't have to do everything, right? Like I went to different agencies where there's a structure where like if you're the producer, you're the producer. There's also a creative who leads all of the decks and lays it out and then goes in and does the mood board. You don't have to do the mood board, but if you have an idea, throw it at them. And then there's the account lead who liaises with the client. Like there's the accounting person, and then you have an account coordinator that always. So I've been in different agencies where the clients, they have afforded them the budget to be able to structure their projects in a way where there's a team around it. And then you go to other agencies where it's just you. And because you can do everything, they just give you the bigger projects to do everything. And then you face the burnout. At least in my experience, because I like to go to work and be useful. I don't want to sit in a meeting and like waste my time. And sometimes it's to my detriment. Like I like to push things forward. So when I see a vacuum of like an idea, I'm like, okay, let's do it this way. Why don't we? So like sometimes I can't shut my mouth. So I'm like, oh, then Oscar, you do it. So like then I get stuck in this weird point where like I'm doing the pitch deck and then the budget and then I'm presenting to the client and then when we win it, I'm producing it. And it's like that, that kind of follows me through because sometimes I don't know when to like just zip it because it's not in my nature to do that.
Would you prefer a situation where you are only over one thing, or do you really like your ability to do it all? I mean, how do you, the burnout of it? Tell me what you prefer between those two scenarios.
Yeah, in my current career. So like this year was not the hardest, but it was the most intense because we've all done intense projects, but having to do multiple at the same time, especially if like one is like there's no for me, if the budget is small, it makes it harder. If it's bigger, it makes it harder. So like it comes with different challenges. So I went from working on a smaller budget for a crypto project, like right when I hopped off I went straight into this Korean project, which was it was a bigger project. I had to lead like a Korean team, I'd work daytime and then come home, like take a break and then like get on my computer and work Korean time because like when we're going to bed, they were waking up. So I had to manage that. For me, I prefer to focus on one project at a time. But if the team is structured in a way where I don't have to like come up with the concept, budget, and then lead the client. I think for me, I would say to answer your question, it depends on how the team is structured around the project, right? And you can't always get a big team around every project because budget, if it's a dinner, it's like, well, you can do this yourself.
Totally. But there's something to be said for like getting to lead like multiple projects at like a higher level so that you're not in the weeds definitely makes it easier than when
Yeah.
you're having to do the thing and then you're getting that burnout. Speaking of, like, how do you manage your burnout? Because it's definitely a thing in this industry. A lot of people go through it, especially on the agency side, but it happens on the
Yeah.
brand side too. So like how have you managed burnout?
I also want, before you tell us how you manage it, I want to know what burnout looks like for you.
Oh yeah.
How do you
too.
experience it? And then how do you manage it?
I'm pretty good with burnout. Like I said, like it took me, so COVID really changed my whole perception of, then, Chris and I think you and I talked about it when I came to Toronto, but COVID kind of changed my perception of, because you grow up, I used to work in fashion, I worked at, like PR places, we put on fashion weeks, I was like rolling, carts and carts of clothes down Broadway and Soho to get it from one place. So I was used to like that quick, fast-paced life. And then COVID happened and it kind of like almost snapped me back to reality of like work is not everything and like trying to chase the ladder to be an experiential director. Maybe that's not what you want. So for me, like I didn't get burnout until I went through COVID of not having work and kind of getting to know myself. And then I moved to LA. And I was like, oh, let me do an agency. Huge agency. They do all of the projects from Netflix to blah, blah, blah to everything. Like I was producing 3 premieres back to back to back. And then they put me on like a huge project for like Taco Bell, which was like in a different town somewhere. I don't drive. I still don't drive. So as I was like doing all of these premieres back to back to back at the historic park, and then like producing this taco music project, and like I think it was like Casa something, California, like an hour and a half. I'm like, how am I even supposed to get there? Like I freaked out. I literally like I had a panic attack. I never had a panic attack in my entire life ever. And I've produced like bigger projects than this. Like I literally like I couldn't breathe. I sat at I spoke to my best friend who I lived with at the time, sat at my computer after that, typed out a whole exit strategy, project status, where it is, where all the vendors, where all the links are. I sent my resignation email in the morning. Like there was no conversation about it because I thought if this is making me feel this way, like I need to like take a break. And because I never felt that way before, like ever. And like at 25, I produced Game of Thrones, like, and I was managing 300 people across. I never felt that burnout, but at this agency, it happened to me where I listened to my body. I was like, am I getting a panic attack? What is happening? Like I literally my entire life, it kind of freaked me out. That was my first idea of burnout because I was hearing like Slack notifications while I was sleeping. And I was like, what is going on? And like, I thought about it. It's like, I literally gave me like anxiety anxiety, and I don't get anxiety. So like that was my cue to be like, okay, this is it. So funny, like, yeah, I sent my email in the morning. They were very, very understanding. I had the head of production actually call me the next day to like, okay, like we understand what's going on. And funny enough, she quit a month later as well. They lost their creative director. So I think it coming out of COVID, a lot of agencies were just picking up projects and not understanding how to like properly staff around those projects. So I think it was interesting. I created a cascade of like having to leave because it was just way too much. And
Well,
Well, it
yeah.
probably opened up a lot of other people's eyes and gave them permission to admit what they were going through as well.
Well, yeah, because I mean, agencies like to run lean.
Yeah.
I get it, because like you don't always know when you're gonna have those clients, right? So totally makes sense, and you scale with freelancers. But there are some agencies out there that run like too lean, and they don't really have the forethought to think through like what it's doing to their team. And it leads to really serious burnout. And that looks different in so many people. You just start like disassociating with your projects, and like you start noticing it in your personal life. Like you can have a panic attack. Like I had one of those, like once I was like, I had been doing this for 10 plus years, and all of a sudden one project and one experience like broke me for a moment, and I'm like, whoa, this is weird.
Yeah.
So it's so real, and I don't think it's talked about enough. But
Oh, yeah. No, I had major burnout earlier this year, actually. It was the catalyst for me putting a pause on everything. And it's beautiful because when you do allow yourself to rest and let everything go, I think the most important things bubble to the surface. You remember who you are. You remember what you're good at. And then you have a better kind of true north of where you want to go.
yeah, you can like reset.
100%. So then at that point, then, Oscar, when you resigned, what was that experience for you after that in kind of navigating where you would go next?
That finally brought me to the brand side because that's where you kind of filter back and forth. And I was like, agencies are intense, and it's just after COVID, I really got to know I thought I was like sleepwalking through life pre-COVID. I was in my 20s. I moved to New York City, fast life. Like you're working on all of these amazing projects. You just don't stop at all. So like COVID forced a lot of people to just stop, and it really put me in that headspace where, like, if a job is making me feel this way, I know myself and I know my resume and the amount of work that I've done throughout my career that, like, I am okay taking a bit of a break. And I took a bit of a break for 3 months to just, like, calm down, just move to LA. I was like, okay, let's go brand side because I want to not hear Slack while I'm sleeping. I want to be focused on one specific thing. Hello, tech startup, you pay a good chunk and there's lots of fun benefits. And I don't know, what do you do at a tech startup brand for Experiential? Let's find out. So it's like an interesting challenge. And yeah, that shifted me there.
So obviously we've talked about the stress level and everything that is associated with an agency, also the benefits of being with an agency. So then what did you experience being brand side?
Yeah, brand side, the benefits is, again, there's a focus and there's a team, and team can kind of go different ways. Like everything on the brand side had been there. There's accountability for people in every field because the projects are just not yours alone. Like if you're doing a marketing product launch, like you have to work with like the product team and somebody else is in charge of the creative. Like, so there's like teams around the specific project. So like you can collaborate and you can work with people together. So that's great for me. And there's always like great people to work with. I think that, meeting you guys, like that's always more fun in brand side. The challenge is then it's almost the same thing is working with people there because we work in a visual medium and time is money. So brand side timing is they don't understand. So you almost have to push people in like, if you don't do X at this time, I can't do Y and it's going to cost you more. And you always have to that was the biggest challenge of getting around the red tape and people being like, oh, you want to do a yacht party? It's going to cost me $500,000. Well, yeah, because you want this and this and this and this. And it's like, how can we do it for 100K? You don't do the yacht party. That's how much you can do. Kind of massaging that piece. And, did I feel burnout at a brand side? I don't think I did that because of the team's support. I worked on projects that took me like working long hours, but there's a trade-off where you get to work on like a travel thing, and then you get to work on like a smaller party, and then you get to work on like a big concert for Rihanna, and then you do like a small like 1800 tequila festival. So there was like, there is a bit of a scale that goes with that. And then you also have agency support, right? So you get to work a bit with the agencies on the other side. And I always loved my relationships with the agencies from the brand side because most times they don't get a producer, and I came in like doing basically half of the work for them. The feedback that I've received from working with agencies, because I know what it costs them to produce things, I know you have to make money, like, which is what I hate about working in an agency on brand side. They treat you like the help, where it's like, why does this cost enough money? Because we're a business and we need to make money here. Like, we're not working for free. So for me, like, I was able to work with agencies where I'm like, yeah, I know this is going to cost you this. You add a little bit up on top, cool. I know this. Yeah, I know you like triple charging me on this line item. Like, that's absurd. So let's have a conversation there.
It's true. You can set them up for better success, I feel like, which is helpful because being on the agency side, sometimes when you're working with clients who maybe don't have as much like true producing event experience, it can be a challenge because they aren't necessarily giving you all the things you need to set you up for success, which is a total challenge of the agency side. But it is kind of fun to be on the brand side and being like, look, here you go. Like, here's like the roadmap. Here's what we need.
And they think you're a fairy godmother.
Yeah. Because you're like,
No, they do. They really
yeah,
do.
because like I would have wanted this, and like here I've put this brief together, and here's the folder of assets and all the things that you need.
Well, I think there's also a lot to admire about both brand side and agency side. And I mean, we've talked about challenges, but there's also major benefits to both. And I mean, one that you speak to very well, Oscar, is that you had all this agency background to be able to bring into an internal team, which is,
It's huge.
it's huge. It's huge. And so, I mean, what do you admire about both scenarios that you've experienced?
I would say the good thing about agency for me is having my hands in different pots. Like, so it's like figuring out the balance between not getting overworked, but also knowing everything that's going around. Because as a producer, you need to know what's everything that's going on, so you can like pre-plan ahead of time, and you can like think ahead of like everyone and say, oh, okay, you have talent showing up, and you just told me 30 minutes before it happened. I don't have security. I don't have a green room. I don't have like, so if I don't know that, talent team is talking to talent to procure talent for this project, I can't prepare for that. So for me, it's like being collaborative in that sense of like a client coming to you and saying, hey, we want to do XYZ here. What are your ideas? And thinking through from talent to like digital marketing to where it could be and the whole idea. Like I don't want to do them all, but I like to like be involved in those conversations because it gives me a sense of what's going on. And agencies they're fun. I think it's especially when they're smaller, you get to really like I like the scrappy nature. When it gets too big, you almost I don't know. It's like a double-edged sword because you want to be involved, but you don't want to be too involved. You want to have a team around you, but you don't want to be too siloed off. It's finding the perfect balance on the agency side. I currently at my job, I think I have a personal life, which for me is like really, really important for me. I didn't sleep for 6 months, 3 months, it's fine. But that was like a step up from what I was experienced using. I had a team around me to kind of support locally and like, that kind of helped. And then on the brand side, I think having similarly, like the collaboration is not always there, but there's a team, there's responsibility. There are people who can go bat for you. It's just not you. That's like pushing it forward. And I think the focus also helps, like having a singular focus at a time, because you rarely ever are at a brand where you're doing three projects. It can happen back to back, but you're never launching three things at the same time because that's not good for your marketing because then you're kind of cross promotion around it. Unless it's like you're doing like an influencer drive with a party attached to it, like everything kind of culminates into one thing. You're not doing three siloed off things simultaneously. So
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
As people who have been on kind of both sides, I'm curious to hear what you wish sometimes that the other side better understood.
that's a fab question. I think so for brands, for brands who are in this an agency, I would really like for brands to not think of us as their help. I think a lot of brands just think that were throwing money at you and you should be lucky. It depends on the agency, but like most brands essentially don't, because they don't typically have a producer on their back end. I recently did a project where this is like abundantly clear, and I never handled a client like I handled a client my entire career. Like I was like the biggest, if I can say the word bitch, to the client in terms of like, because they just, you just had to be like this to them because they couldn't conceive that things cost money and things do X. And when you like, these are the things that I ask for to get it here. Like, or like, let's have a conversation about you needing X. We don't need that. 2 days before the thing, we need that. And then you're like, this is going to cost you money. I'm like, I asked you for this. Like, I literally screamed on the top of my head, like, I know you're going to need this. You're telling me you're not going to need this. So like, that kept happening. So I think brands sometimes they don't look at agencies as your collaborators, and then they try to stiff you on money because it's like things cost what they cost, especially now. Everything is expensive. Everything is expensive. And brands, yeah, brands still don't want you to build them the moon for 50K because so I've reached a point in my career where honesty is better. Like, I'm not lying to you. I'm not here to be your friend. Like, this is cool. Thank you for the opportunity. But if you have a 50K budget, this is what you can get, and I'm not going to tell you that I can do more for you because I can't. Like, that's realistically impossible. And I would say, if you want me to add a bigger screen, it will cost you X. I don't want us to waste our time. It's always great to like get a new client and brand to talk to, but if we're not a right fit, we're not a right
Well,
fit.
yeah, I think
So
transparency is huge, and I think having that candid feedback with brands is also huge, right? Like, because sometimes they don't know, especially if it's a smaller or emerging brand that may not know everything that's needed. They might, to them, 50K is a huge budget, right? But they might not necessarily understand like where that 50K is going to go, and that it truly can't get them as much as they may think. Or if they do, they might need to go with an even smaller agency, right? It's like that idea that every tier of an agency is going to have additional overhead, additional expenses. Like, that baseline for what things will cost kind of starts at different levels.
right, and we can't hide anything. That's the thing. It's like I always tell clients, I can't hide anything from you because you'll come to an event and you're going to see everything in front of your eyes. Like, we don't work in an accounting where I can hide money in the books. Yes, do agencies do that? Yes, we all upsell. It's a business, but you can't sell a client like a 80-foot LED screen and they show up and it's like 30, like they're going to see it. So I always tell clients, like, I'm not hiding anything from you. I want this product to be better because I don't want this product to suck. I want to work hard to make sure this is even better than you thought of. And I always try to attack brands in the sense of like, help me, help you, help us together because you're going to look good on your end. We're going to look good and it's going to be a fab event.
One thing that I am thinking of right now is also the expectation, like you're saying, the communication and the expectation that you set in the beginning in any scenario, brand side or agency side, is super important. And also, if you're a brand wanting to work with an agency, I think that one thing that's super important would be for a brand to actually come with what their expectations are. And I don't mean expectations with how they want it to look and feel. I mean, what does success look like to you? Is it ROI? Is it you're trying to get more clients? Are you trying to sell product? Are you trying to have a viral moment? What is actually important to you? Because like you said, agencies are actually treated as the redheaded stepchild. I mean, you didn't say that word, but you know, they are treated like the help, and they're treated like, you know, snap a finger, I'm paying for this, make it happen. You're the event person, you should be able to. I think the expectation should also be understood on the agency side so that there are no pie in the sky ideas floating around. And like you said, Oscar, you like to make a decision and execute. And I think the ability to do that with the brand goals in mind will make the brand have more trust in the agency, and you know, so that there's a mutual understanding of, okay, maybe we don't need that giant donut bar that you were dreaming about, but what we will do is put a little bit of extra money into this portion of the event that's going to drive more of the success that you're looking for.
Sometimes I can be too honest, so it took me a while to kind of manage that. But I'm a terrible liar. I can't lie. So for me, at the top with the brand, with anyone, being honest and like, what are you looking for? What are your KPIs? What are your goals? Like, what do you see for this? What worked last year that it didn't work? And sometimes most brands, they don't know. They want you to tell them. it's really interesting. Like they want you to tell them, and I'm like, okay, but I don't work for your brand, so you need to tell me how to execute so I can help you. So that, and they don't, brands also don't think all of this time on creative and helping them shape their brand costs money. Like that's the piece where they think, all of these things are just like, oh yeah, it's just a production piece of it. And you're like, well, I went through 5 several rounds of creative pitches with you. You've already gone 2+ rounds because, this is our first time we want to work with you. And there are things that they forget that requires time. I recently, literally, we had to deal with a contingency for a brand for a project somewhere, and we spoke about it. They didn't want to do it, and then they came back, and we were like, okay, people are here. This is going to happen in 2 days, and this is the budget for the weather contingency. And the client got on a call with me and say, well, do you have to charge us for weather contingency? And I was like, yes, because this is a different project, and we're an agency. We need to make money. Like, you either want to do it or not. We're canceling the project. So, like, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm sorry, are we working for free? Like, I didn't know that we're back in the times where we just work for free. I literally, like, sometimes brands don't, it's really interesting if they don't see you as a collaborator. I would say one of the best, still to this day, the best brand I've ever worked with was HBO. Amazing. They understand what fan experiences and experiential mean to them, and they also respect agencies because if you guys work in experiential, most of the biggest things have come from HBO, from like their Westworld things and South by Southwest. This recent thing that Giant Spoon did with the dragon and the Empire State Building, like they consistently get the bigger press from experiential because they understand like what goes into that. So they're very collaborative with agencies from the get-go. Like they understand how things cost and they're involved from the beginning to end. And when I did Game of Thrones, because I was a fan of the show and I went in through all of those pitches, like I want to do this because I watched the show. So other people might want, and they're very receptive to that because they can see that you're a fan. So I like messed up on a project, on a venue or something. I was really scared. It was the first time I'd ever done that before. And I called like my HBO rep on that and I was like, okay, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. Like this is whatever. And she goes, oh, it's fine. Let's, like I like your solution. Let's work with that. And that's like, they're very open about that. And I've never gotten that same experience from a brand before.
Yeah, I can attest to that as well. We've done a few projects with them. They've been amazing. I think also one of their recipes of success with that is that they do have a lot of internal team members who come from the agency side, which I think
This is
helps.
smart.
I feel like you kind of notice that when you're working with different brands, some of the ones that do have people that have come from the agency side that are in the brand side, I feel like it's a pretty noticeable difference in terms of the workflow between teams.
Well, because they get it.
Right.
Yeah, they can play both sides. Well, and also, I mean, what you were saying before about brands coming to you that want you to give them creative direction and you're the agency, how much better of a world and how much more efficient would it be to be in an agency and work with a client or brand that comes in and says, this is who we are. This is what we want to do. You tell us your creative ideas.
It would literally solve everything. And then it doesn't change your timeline. They want you to help shape the creative for them, but then you still have to meet their timeline while they like rip your creative to shreds. And you're like, but you don't even know what your creative is.
We also have an event we're supposed to do, and you don't even like this logo that we've got going. So what are we doing here? And at that point, I mean, it should be very separate projects. I mean, like you were talking about.
But most agencies, we're so eager to please that's we're very eager to please that agent. You don't want to lose any brand because one project leads to the other, especially if even the bigger ones still are very much eager to please because you just like once business goes away, it's really tricky, especially if you own an agency. If you're not packed in, if it goes past a certain quarter where there's no consistent business, you have to let people go. And we're always pleasing and trying to get business and like where you cut corners in terms of like, fine, we'll eat these costs. It's just trying to find the balance, right? Like if you get big projects where they're like 5, 10, 15 million projects, then you get to like tell a smaller company who's grown up that cool, like we'll eat this printing cost, whatever. It's like, it's okay. So with agencies, we're eager to please, and brands know that. They simply do.
After all of your experience thus far in your life, career-wise, where do you see yourself going? You said earlier that maybe you don't want to climb the ladder to be the experiential director. Do you want to share? I mean, do you feel, where do you see things going for you, and what excites you about this industry still?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I've kind of resigned myself to seeing where my career goes. I still don't have an answer to that. I think I'm, and again, this might sound too spiritual. I try to live in the now of like where I am and how I'm feeling. I recently was talking to a friend about like when you go on dates and like the person asks you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, I don't know. When I get there, I will let you know. Like, what do you mean, where do I see myself in 5 years? I don't even know what I'm doing at the end of the year. Like,
You're not climbing that ladder anymore, which is really cool. That's probably very freeing.
I've seen too much in terms of brand and agency side. I think, as great as it is, as you're climbing up, you zoom out and you oversee. I like the creativity. I like getting my hands dirty. I like the collaboration bits and producing and the people management and, the client. I like still doing all of that. I think that's currently my career. I don't, I recently had a conversation my job about this. I'm like, I've seen too much with executive level, and like it's never about no, because I don't have the energy and the patience and the personality to like massage people's egos. It didn't work at our last jobs where we were at. It was like one of my biggest battle all the time about like I'm like, I don't, do you want to do this or do you not want to do this? This is where my answer is. So like I've seen too much on executive level, even on agency side, where it's the pressure is a bit different, and I just don't, I'm not interested in. I want to just do the fun stuff where one day you're doing crypto stuff and then the next day you're doing like something with K-pop band, and let's say you're traveling and like you're doing all these things. It's still, that's still something I want to do. And as long as I'm being paid what I think I'm worth, roles are not really, you could call me experiential, you could be senior, you could be, I don't really care. But executive level, like head of production, which is I've seen someone be a head, it's one of, you still do a lot of work and a lot of people management. But at this point, I want to have a personal life. So
It's
Well,
healthy, Oscar.
Totally. Super healthy.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's one thing that being in this industry, and whether you're on one side or the other, after you're in it for a while, like you're eventually going to figure out if you want to keep climbing to that ladder, or you'll find yourself like, no, I really enjoy just like being a part of the project, or like, you know what I mean? You'll figure out what those like ebbs and flows are for you and your personality and your life goals. And it's pretty awesome. But
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I have to say at the end of the day, we've discovered, is the grass actually greener?
And it's not.
It's not. It's probably fake turf, right?
Yeah. Probably fake turf.
yeah.
Well, we're going to wrap up, Oscar, with a few rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Ooh.
Okay, we're going to try and make it quick. Best city to throw an event?
New York City
Airbnb or hotel?
hotel.
Hotel. Yeah.
Best swag for an event.
A bag.
A bag.
A bag.
A tote bag, a bag, backpack, because it's actually usable.
Yeah, and you can throw your stuff in there from the
Nothing
event.
worse than getting a pen.
Pen. I do like getting a
I
pen.
know, but
That's
not if
real.
it's like a junky pen.
Well, I want a nice gift and also a pen.
Okay, fine. If it's a nice pen, but not like the cheap ones.
Yeah,
that
not a
just-
cheap pen. All right, I digress. Okay, window, middle, or aisle seat?
I'll see, because I love a cocktail on a flight. I also like, I have to pee all the time on flights. So if it's a window and it's a long flight, especially when it's going from like LA to New York, and I like have to wake people up and then I have to sit, I'm like, I don't want to do it. So like I just sit in an aisle. I don't care. We're staring at the clouds either way.
Right, you're bothering no one. Name one celebrity that you'd love to plan an event for.
Oh my God, Beyonce. I would love to do a project for Beyonce.
What's your walk-up song? Like, what's your hype song?
Well, currently, if I look on my music, Zara Larsson has a new song called Midnight Sun, which is like my song of the summer. It just gets me in the mood.
That's a banger. That's a good choice. Okay, Oscar, last question. When all is said and done, what do you want to be remembered by?
That's a very deep question. That to take a second. I guess I would say that I would want people to remember me by how I made them feel, whether it was like, oh, I like your necklace, or like what you're wearing, or you said that dumb joke and you were being really crass. I think that I would say like how I made people feel would be, I mean, we work in a people industry. That's one thing that I had to learn very quickly, is that you have to rely on people on all of your projects. If your caterer decides not to show up because you didn't like the way you spoke to them, your project is over. So like I've throughout my career, like people skills has been, I've like really respect people who work and people, my friends and all of that. So I'm very much big on like when I'm leading a project, I'm not your boss. I'm not your, like, we're collaborators. We're in it together. Like if something's wrong, let me know. Like, if you don't tell me, I don't know. So I would say trying to make sure the team, even my friends, everyone feels comfortable is very important for me. So I'll just say yes. I want to be remembered by how I make people feel.
Snaps for that.
Mhm.
And also, I would say you've left us feeling really good.
Always have. I
Always
miss
have.
seeing
That's
you
why you're
every
here
day.
right now.
Totally.
Thank you.
We're so
Oh,
grateful that you
fun.
came to the pod today.
But I will put it out there, Oscar, like if people are looking for you, where can they find you? If somebody wants to get in contact with you, or what's your IG?
If
or-
Beyonce, needs to hire you, how does she find you?
I'm not great on DM, nor am I good. My Instagram is Oscar, OSERG, OSEI, on Instagram and on LinkedIn, which I'm also not, I'm so bad at DMs, you guys. It's not great, but I will check. My LinkedIn is like Oscar-Godwin, Osei. You can find me there. I don't have a website. The internet is too interesting where there's an engaging part where I try to like exit out. There's, because people are really busy. So yeah.
Thanks, Oscar. You're the best. We'll
Thank
chat
you,
with you soon.
queens.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I'll do more of these. Just send me an episode and we'll chat.
All right. I'll
This is
see you
awesome.
soon.
Bye.
You just listened to an episode of Pitch Kill Repeat.
And if you liked this episode, leave us a review.
And if you like us, you can add us on social media. My Instagram
Okay, Mads. That's a wrap.
is... Okay. Bye.
See ya.